weekend, so I spent all my money. I thought we'd literally got a tenner boss. I'm so sorry, mate.
We don't have 90 quid to spend on it. I don't have. You've dropped us 2 minutes up the road. I'm going to walk that in 2 minutes. Do you mean? I get that. I'm not paying. I can't pay £90.
Money, but I don't have 60. I've literally got like £25 in it. I'm so fucking sorry. I know. That's why I didn't want to do it. I didn't have the money. Like, that's why I asked for it. I thought it was like a tenner, not 90 quid. I know it is. I'm so sorry, but that's why I asked prior.
Where do you travel from?
Bristol.
Bristol.
No, on this journey.
Literally just.
Literally from the Disney shop. It was.
Disney shop on Oxford Street.
Yeah.
To here.
Oxford Street.
So 5 minutes.
2 minutes.
How much does he want?
£90.
£90.
£90.
Wow.
I don't have that money. I've got no drama charges like you pay for. That's the max I can do. I don't have that sort of money to. Or else I would like. Sorry.
£90 for Oxford Street.
I'm so sorry.
Hey,
I
boss.
don't mind paying £25.
£90.
That's not my fees.
How much?
25 quid.
£25 for 5 minutes.
I'm so sorry.
Wow.
For 25 minutes, yes.
What, from Oxford Street to here?
It was down around the corner.
Wow.
This guy's filming.
Well, of course I'm filming.
It's the kind of headline that sparks global embarrassment. 2 unsuspecting tourists charged £90 for a 2-minute rickshaw ride through central London. The incident, caught on camera and spread like wildfire across social media, has ignited a national debate about the capital's unregulated tourist traps, public safety, and the failure of local governance. This isn't just a story of street-level scamming. It's a reflection of a deeper crisis in how London polices its image, manages its streets, and protects both visitors and residents from exploitation in plain sight. The footage, filmed near Oxford Street, shows a pair of tourists being pressured to hand over £90 for what amounted to a short novelty cycle rickshaw journey. The video captures the shock and disbelief on their faces as the driver calmly demands payment without displaying any official meter or pricing guidelines. Within hours, the clip was circulating across TikTok, Reddit, and Twitter, fueling outrage and ridicule. Comments flooded in, "Cheaper to hire a Rolls-Royce. This is why people don't trust London anymore." But behind the viral moment lies a political question. How did London become a city where this is possible? At the heart of the issue is the rickshaw industry's regulatory void. Unlike taxis or buses, cycle rickshaws, often called pedicabs, operate in a legal gray zone in London. There are no fare caps, no licensing requirements, and no mandatory safety standards. Anyone with a bike and a speaker system can pick up passengers and set their own prices, often with little recourse for those overcharged or scammed. For years, Westminster City Council, Transport for London, TfL, and Parliament have passed the buck back and forth, failing to enforce meaningful oversight. The result? London's West End has become a free-for-all for rogue operators. Local residents have long complained that these rickshaws are more than just overpriced novelties. They are a public nuisance, often blasting loud music late into the night, obstructing traffic and creating safety risks for pedestrians. But it's the blatant tourist exploitation that has finally pushed the issue into the national spotlight. The rickshaw scandal exposes a broader pattern of political negligence. London's tourism economy generates billions, yet basic protections for visitors are routinely overlooked. While the mayor's office touts London as a world-leading city, the reality on the ground often feels more like a Wild West, where the unsuspecting are easy targets and local authorities look the other way. Shadow ministers and backbench imps from both sides of the aisle have started to speak up, calling for immediate reforms. Conservative MP Nikki Aiken, who represents parts of central London, has repeatedly lobbied for legislation to regulate pedicabs. But progress has stalled. The £90 rickshaw scam is more than a tourist ripoff. It's a political failure, a governance gap, and a warning sign. If London's leaders can't regulate something as basic as fair pricing on its streets, what message does that send about the city's priorities?
When I speak to young people in Kettering, in fact when I'm having conversations with my friends, they tell me that they are worried about the future of the world we've inherited. So with that in mind, the climate delay rhetoric coming from the Tories and Reform is both deeply irresponsible and actually really disappointing.
Yep.
Can the Secretary of State outline with that in mind that it's only by working with urgency and action that my constituents will see restoration of our natural world and a world that we can pass on to the next generation?
Would say incredibly well, Madam Deputy Speaker. You know, this is an obligation that we owe to young people. We hold the planet in trust for future generations. And the young people of today, you know, they speak for themselves, but they speak for future generations. And frankly, we owe it to them to act when the evidence is before our eyes.
In a pointed and impassioned address at the Cosmos Climate Summit this week, veteran Labour MP Rosie Winterton delivered a stark warning. Britain's political gridlock on climate action is jeopardizing the future of the next generation. Speaking to an audience of scientists, policymakers, and international delegates, Winterton did not mince words when addressing what she described as willful climate obstructionism by Reform UK and sections of the Conservative Party. We owe it to our children and their children to act with real urgency on climate change. Yet while this government puts forward essential steps to protect the planet, we're being dragged back by the very forces that refuse to face reality. Winterton declared from the Cosmos stage. Winterton's remarks reflect growing frustration within Labour ranks over what they perceive as deliberate stalling tactics by right-wing parties. Reform UK has openly campaigned against net zero targets, branding them as economically harmful and politically elitist. Meanwhile, Prime Minister Keir Starmer's government has faced criticism for backtracking on green pledges, including delaying the ban on new petrol and diesel cars from 2030 to 2035, a move Winterton described as morally indefensible. In her speech, she accused both Reform and the Conservatives of playing short-term political games at the expense of long-term environmental security. We're not just talking about emissions or statistics. We're talking about lives, ecosystems, and the collapse of global stability if we fail to act. Climate change is not tomorrow's problem. It's today's emergency, she warned. Winterton's speech resonated in a room filled with climate experts concerned about the political headwinds facing global decarbonization efforts. Dr. Lena Ward, a leading climate scientist at the summit, echoed Winterton's concerns. Every time a government kicks the can down the road, it's not just delaying action. It's compounding the problem. We don't have the luxury of time anymore. Reform UK has capitalized on public anxiety over the cost of living crisis, arguing that climate policies are an economic burden on ordinary Britons. Party leader Richard Tice has repeatedly attacked net zero goals, calling them unaffordable green fantasies that will drive up energy bills and restrict personal freedoms. The Conservatives, while officially committed to net zero by 2050, have taken a cautious approach in recent months, watering down green targets in the face of pressure from their right flank and segments of the media skeptical of climate policy. At the heart of the Conservative narrative is a balancing act, supporting green initiatives without alienating voters worried about economic fallout. But critics like Winterton say this equivocation is reckless and dangerous. Winterton's message at Cosmos wasn't just a political attack. It was a broader call to recognize the moral obligation of climate leadership. She highlighted the disproportionate impact of climate breakdown on vulnerable communities, both in the UK and globally. It's the poorest who suffer first and hardest from climate disasters, whether it's floods in Yorkshire or famine in East Africa. Pretending that delaying action somehow helps working people is a lie. It makes things worse for everyone, but especially for those with the least power to adapt. With a general election looming, climate policy is becoming a central fault line in British politics. Labour is positioning itself as the party of green ambition, promising massive investments in renewable energy and home insulation. Meanwhile, Reform UK and sections of the conservative right continue to frame climate action as an elite project disconnected from everyday struggles. Polls suggest the public is increasingly concerned about the climate, but also wary of policies that could raise household costs, leaving the political terrain deeply polarized.